All right, guys, today we are going to be drawing Monet's Japanese bridge, and then we're going to be painting it as well. We looked at Monet's Japanese bridge painting, and we noticed that everything was painted with kind of little like dashes and lots of texture. We also noticed that there was a bridge in the middle, and we saw the lily pads that are on the pond. When we looked at the lily pads, we saw that some were bigger in the front and smaller in the back, and that's because things are big when you look close and small when they're far away. So in Monet's picture, we saw that the bridge was kind of like a bluish green. So you can pick blue or green for this. You're gonna need a dark and a light. So if you wanna do a green bridge, you're gonna do a dark green and a light green. If you want a blue bridge, you're gonna need a dark blue and a light blue. So I think for mine, I'm gonna do a green bridge. I'm gonna start with the dark color first. So I'm gonna draw the bottom of my bridge as a big rainbow line across my paper. I'm gonna go over it a couple times so it's nice and dark. Then I'm gonna draw another rainbow line on top of that one. So give yourself a space and draw another rainbow line above the first line that you drew. Then we need one more rainbow line in the middle. So now I have 3 rainbow lines across my paper. Then I'm gonna draw the sides of the bridge, and those are just lines that go straight up and down. Now I'm gonna use my light green color, or if you're using blue, you would use your light blue color. We're gonna add some highlight to our bridge, and this is where the bridge is kind of shiny from the sun. So I'm gonna color a light green on top of my dark green lines. So I want one on the top, and then I can also do some on the top of these lines. It just makes it look like it has a little bit of a shadow and a highlight. So my light green is right next to my dark green. It's on the top of all 3 lines. Then if you want, you can add some to the sides too. So you can do some like this to make it look like the sides of the bridge have a highlight too. Okay, so now that our bridge is done, now we're gonna draw the water lilies and we're gonna draw the little lily pads that the water lilies sit on. So we saw in his picture that the water lily pads and lilies that are in front are bigger than the ones that are far away. And that's because when you look up close to something, it looks a lot bigger than if you're really far away. So I'm gonna draw some lily pads with green first, and then I'm gonna add some pink and purple flowers. So for the lily pads that are in front, you can draw a sideways letter U. I'm gonna draw a few big ones in the front. And then on the side, you can add a letter V, a sideways letter V, and that's how you draw a little lily pad. And then in the middle, they get a little bit smaller. So some smaller letter U's and a smaller letter V. And then in the back, they're gonna be really small. So little letter U, where it kind of looks like a letter C now. Okay, and now I'm gonna color them in with my oil pastel. And then since the bridge is going over the pond, you can add some up here too, because this would still be pond up here. So we can, since these are so small in the back, you can just add some little ovals. So they look like little lily pads. Okay, and now I can add my flowers on top. So you could use pink or orange or purple or peach, whatever you want to do for your flowers, or red. It does not matter. So you're just going to pick your color, and then you're going to draw a little letter U on top of your lily pads. Then you're going to do a zigzag on top of that. And you can also color those in with your oil pastel. On the little lily pads, those might be too small to do zigzags. You can just do a little circle on those. Okay, and then the last thing we're gonna do before we paint is we're gonna add some of that tall grass that we saw on the sides. So I think I'm gonna choose dark green and light green, and I might even add some dark blue for a shadow. So I'm gonna add some tall grass. So I'm doing like zigzag lines with my pastel. And then I'm coloring in all the white spots. So I don't wanna just do lines like this. I wanna color in between so it looks like the grass is covering up some of that water. And then if you wanna add some little vines hanging down, you could do that too. So we could do some squiggly lines, and you could add some little ovals or circles to look like leaves. Maybe I want some hanging off the bridge. All right, so now it looks like Monet's secret garden. Okay, so when you're finished with your oil pastel, now we are going to paint. Okay, so we are going to use our watercolors for this, and we saw lots of cold colors in Claude Monet's artwork. So cold colors are things that remind us of cold things like green, blue, dark blue, and purple. If you want to add a little bit of pink into this, we could use that as well. So first thing I'm gonna do is, if you're ready to paint, I'm gonna spray your paper a little bit for you with a spray bottle. And that is gonna help our watercolors spread out so that it can have that same texture that we saw in Claude Monet's artwork. So then we're gonna use our watercolor paint, and we're just gonna paint some little dash marks all over our water. And you can paint right over your lily pads and all of your drawing, because the oil pastel does not like the water and it will just push it right off. So you can just paint right on top of everything. See, like right here, since my paper is a little bit wet, you can see it's starting to spread out. That's gonna help our paints mix together a little bit easier than if our paper was dry. So I've got a lot of dark blue. Now maybe I want to try some light blue. And maybe I want to try a little bit of purple. And you can see, since my paper is wet, it's starting to mix together and have that really cool brush stroke texture. I'm going to keep on doing this until I don't see any white left on my paper. Okay, so now I have the bottom part done. Now I'm gonna do the same thing on the top part. So if you wanna use the same colors, you can, or you could add in something else like green or some more purple, or you can make it a little bit different. Like with the bottom part, you can paint right over your bridge, since we used oil pastel, and it will not cover it. Sometimes your paintbrush might be getting a little bit dry, so you can see that my paint's running out and it's really hard for me to make those marks because my brush is dry. That means I need to dip it in the water and get some more paint, and then it will work again. And then also remember, we should only be mixing paints on our paper. So like here, this is making a really cool blue-green up here, but I wanna make sure that I only mix together colors on my paper, not on the paint tray. So I'm not gonna mix blue and green together right here because I wanna keep my paints clean for the next class. Okay, so now I have finished my painting. So now I'm gonna look one more time, make sure I don't have any big white spots. If I do, I can use my paintbrush and kind of cover those up a little bit. I could get a little bit more paint and add it on top. If you have some little white spots, it's okay, but we don't want any big white spots. We want it to look like the water, just like Claude Monet did. All right, so that is our finished Monet's bridge. So when you're finished today, you can put your artwork on the drying rack and clean up your area.